and don't let your emotions move or your actions move. You can kind of see that things take care of themselves in like a lot of ways. And not saying you should passively not act, but it's a matter of just understanding that maybe we aren't the doer. I can kind of see it more clearly that
Good.
and I say the self doesn't do anything, right? And it's we hear that intellectually, but it's really more it's
Yeah,
factually
yeah,
the way it
yeah.
is, but it's really hard to wrap our minds around it. But that's kind of my mind, or I keep going back to that sort of equilibrium and seeing where it's at, and if I can remain in that center space, and let things do what they do, and not control, or not think I have the ability nor the know-how. I don't know what the right action risk is. We never really do. Uh, but on the flip side of that, it kind of makes I find myself being not frozen, but I don't know. It's it's a little disorienting when you start to embrace that or live it. Only because you just it's a different way of living, seeing the world,
Yes.
and yeah, that's kind of where I've been. My mind's been kind of focused there, I guess.
Yes, I would say you have started, I would say, serious contemplation and reflection, and there is always seem to be conflict between the intellect and the mind. There is a intellectual understanding. That understanding is knowledge, awareness, or perception. But intellect understands it easily. The human intellect, even a common sense intellect, can understand the things easily. We understand, even you see that you go to mechanic, what is your education? Oh, I have never been to school. But the intellect knows the very process, and they can fix your car. And they can fix lot of the tools. So intellectual understanding by listening and learning plus by contemplation and reflection can help us to imbibe that knowledge, but when it goes to the mind, which is going to translate into a living reality, mind resists. Mind constantly resists and react. No, I'm okay with my habitual responses. I'm okay with my all kinds of pleasure. So question comes how the intellect understands and how the mind can realize that understanding. I have understood how to drive. These are the steps, but when I sit in the car, hold the steering, I'm confused. So Master says, even the science says, mind understands and realizes by consistent, constant listening, learning, contemplation, reflection, and practice. Intellect can easily understand. So, which you pointed out, that's a good point, and I wanted to talk about it. And you have raised this topic, I love it. Intellect can understand, switch on, switch off. Mind still resists. Why it resists? Because of its past impression, because of its impulsive nature, because of its instinctive nature. So that is what we say that I have understood, and you have made many statements pertaining to some doubt. Oh, whether it is okay or not, but this is the way I understand. So those doubts comes to the mind. Understand, intellect can easily understand in one session. It is okay. So the entire, our master says, this mind can recognize, understand, and realize by consistent listening and learning. Consistently without break. So your intellect contemplates and reflects again and again. It will break the reign of impulsive, habitual, instinctive nature of the mind, and followed by the practice. Meditation practice simply means that you remove the ignorance, you remove the impulsive nature, you remove its habit, you remove its way of perception. Intellect understands, I have a different level of perception. Intellect says, yes, the wave is nothing but the water. But every time when the mind is trying to realize, it says water and wave are different. Clay and the clay pot are different. So that is why Master says consistent listening, learning, contemplation, reflection, practice, experience, daily analysis. How many times I was into anxiety, reaction, duality, conflict today? What happened? It is the mind. Intellect knows I don't need to be into reaction. You see, so not many people are ready because this journey has no excitement, no popular speech, but it's a serious topic. It's a serious topic. And serious topic means that is the mind consistently listening and learning? Today, what you have learned, today, what you have understood, today, what you have applied. Oh no, I wake up in the morning and I was lazy and I slept. How dare you become lazy? Your intellect questions. Laziness in finding the real self? No way. So what happens, then it helps you to live in a higher awareness. That is why indirectly Master says that, okay, I wake up at 4 and do all these practices just to inspire. It is not to brag, just to inspire. So serious topic, I have to find my real self, where the mind should not raise any doubt. It should live in conviction that I'm the real self, I'm the existence of the nature of peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. So meditation brings that conviction. So the subject is self-discovery. If people do not understand today, there will be a curiosity. One day people will understand. So what I speak, it is coming from the teachings of all our great masters. I will continue to do so. I have no idea, no desire to excite people. Oh, let us do it and it will happen. So even if I speak and explain the things, maybe not today, it will go into the head of people tomorrow. Understanding, self-awareness, knowledge of the real self alone is the highest knowledge.
It seems like we get in trouble because a lot of people are looking for a band-aid or a cure to their stressors.
Yeah.
And I realized that I don't think I'm looking for that. What I'm looking for is what's reality. I'm looking for truth. And I don't know what truth is going to feel like or look like. And I don't expect it to. I am not going to be bubbling over with laughter 24/7, right? Like that's. And I think sometimes people get discouraged because they think I still have problems and it's not easy. And I think maybe.
Yes. Hello.
Ace. Oh, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I feel like what we have to face on the journey is no small thing. It's
Yeah. Yeah,
not all roses, right? It's you have to face your deepest
yeah,
beliefs
you have
and
to
realize that none of
face
them are real.
yourself where you are. We say, no, I only want the truth. Come on, first you understand what exactly is the truth and why you are seeking the truth. Without understanding, then we are not ready to listen. My master used to say that I stand on your head. I do not please you. I don't want to please you. I want to stand on your head. So even if you listen today, in future your mind will be curious what my master told me. And the journey of the self-discovery starts. That is from where all these Shanti mantra comes, So never forget to pick up any Shanti mantra, whether it is Om Sahana Vavatu, whether it is Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamaduchyate. You see, that understanding comes slowly, step by step, when you start consistent listening, learning, contemplation, and reflection. That is explained in simple line. That is infinite. That real self, that you are infinite. Hence, this entire world is infinite because it manifests from that. Now it is for the mind resists. Come on, I'm here at my home, you are there at your home. How can I be infinite? And that resistance comes from the ignorance, from the delusion, from the foolishness, if I want to use the word. So I have to get rid of this foolishness by understanding step by step. The infinite proceeds from the infinite. Second line, Purnat Purnamaduchyate. How can whole create parts? It cannot create. How the water create the wave? Okay, even if we say the water has created the wave is nothing but the water, and the water is infinite. Just metaphorically, a wave appears as a name in the form. Wave appears as a name in the form. Yes, what should I? Where is? Yes, I gave you that simple example one master gives. I'm indebted to that master. This is a piece of the cloth. Okay, very good. This master used to explain beautifully. Now I have a knot. Tell me that this knot is also a cloth. This is also on the corner. This is also a cloth. Now tell me, does the knot created by this cloth? No, it does not contain. It does not contain the knot. So knot simply appears. This name in the form simply appears. Simply appears. Now you see the knot. Now tell me where the knot has gone. Knot has gone nowhere. So name and the form do not go anywhere. It does not exist. That is what the master is saying. Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamadaya. That taking the infinitude of the infinite, it remains as the infinite alone. Everywhere there is only one existence. I have to ask my intellect to contemplate and reflect. I will have to consistently make the mind recognize and realize. The moment you have a realization, it is a irreversible process. Even if you have a knot in the cloth, for example, you will say all is cloth here. Name and form appear and dissolve. They simply appear. Behind that name and the form, still it is a cloth. There is no change. There is no change at all. Behind this name in the form of Girish or Eric, there is no change. That existence continues as it is. That existence continues as it is. So that is what the Krishna is saying. In Krishna is saying, understand it very clearly. This intellect understands it, but the mind does not want to understand, because the mind has millions and trillions of its impressions of limitedness, unconsciousness, habitual tendencies, impulsive nature. So the two, intellect understands by communicating this knowledge to you. But the mind can only recognize, understand, and realize by consistent listening and learning. Today you have one lesson of driving the car, and after 10 years you have second lesson. There is no learning at all. So master says, no, continue. There has no break in continuity. You have to. So meditation is nothing but removing all the delusion. All the delusion from.
It's a bit challenging. It's challenging to take worldly knowledge too seriously, because you realize that at the end of the day, it's all gone. We don't retain.
Yeah.
If I see two books in front of me, one is the Gita, one's a business book or whatever, I think, I have to pick up the Gita. I don't know that I want to spend another minute learning. I know we have to function, but how much time and effort to learn something that's so transient is an interesting conundrum for a seeker. I don't know how you there's certain things that unravel, right? Like science kind of helps us understand some aspects of truth, but how many things of knowledge that are just self-contained in that thing that are just sort of irrelevant. And not sort of, they really are.
When anyone like you speaks, my mind is so much internally focused, it picks up the principles and it extracts that understanding. In fact, you all guys help me to understand in a variety of ways. So everyone, at the outer level, people say that I'm coaching or I'm teaching or I'm mentoring, but the fact is the other way. I get instant revelation. Oh, this is what he's talking about. So he's talking from that center of the mind, which contains here is the level of ignorance and here is the level of understanding. And it prompts, so your mind should become like that. It has nothing to do with the hypnotism, it has to do with the clarity. Take another example. I see you. I cannot see you without consciousness. So it means the mind borrows, the sense organ borrows the consciousness from the mind, and then I see you. Now see, there are two factors involved. My eyes are not looking at you. My eyes is looking at someone else. I cannot see you. I cannot know you. One obstacle. It is also caused by the mind, because the mind is attracted to something else. Second is, I'm looking at you. My eyes are fixed on you, but my mind is somewhere. Still I cannot see you. Look at the two simple problems. And then I recognize that when the mind gets upset, I know. Mind gets the pleasure, I know. This upset and pleasure are present in the mind as an experience, but someone else knows. Someone else knows. What is that someone else knows? That someone else is known as the inner self. We have been using it again and again. Inner self. Senses, that is why we say, when I see the perception by the sense organ, it is known as the external perception. Internal perception is by the mind, but beyond that internal perception, there is an inner self. That inner self is Shiva. That inner self is Krishna. That inner self is Goddess, whatever you want to say. But behind that, there is a real self. So there are three eyes. I see you, sense organ. I already identified myself with the sense organ. I feel you. I'm I with the mind. I know you beyond the senses and the mind. That is the inner self. This I is already mixed up. The mind cannot fathom the depth of it without regular practice. Without regular practice, consistently listening and learning, as if you are married to the real self. Where is the real self? Then only it comes. You raised a wonderful topic. In fact, that is the subject matter of these next 3 and 4 verses. I told you, we discussed, matter is neither created nor destroyed. What it means, the existence is absolute. That is what we are talking as a Sat, Chit, Anand, absolute existence, consciousness, and bliss. And if we see the iron steel, we see iron steel with the different names in the form, refrigerator, iron bars in the cars, in the machine. You crush it, you recycle it. Why we recycle? Because that content is changed into a different form. Matter is neither created nor destroyed. So if the matter is not created nor destroyed, what about that consciousness as an existence? It will definitely be neither created nor destroyed. Am I that existence? That understanding is revealed by the Krishna. That is why he is saying you have to practice meditation with the knowledge, with that understanding very clear. What about the consciousness? Because now you see, there is a good example of that. Science is working on that. The earth was created 6 or 8 billion years ago. Example. Okay, so you have fixed the time. So there must be a time before that creation. Then only you can figure it is created 6 billion years ago. So there is some creation already existed before the creation of the earth. What the heck you are talking about? Are you putting people again into a delusion? People don't question them. Oh, there is a big bang theory, there is a big hole. Oh, so there is an existence of the big hole? What you are talking about? It existed before the Big Bang. Oh no, by the Big Bang, this whole creation took place. What about the Big Bang? So the consciousness is there. So that is what the existence is there, the consciousness is there.
I don't know if it's relevant, but is consciousness, well, the self is before consciousness? Is that fair? Is consciousness
is the self
permanent, or does it come and go?
The existence, consciousness, and bliss. It is the self. For the sake of understanding, we have broken into parts. They cannot be broken. They cannot be divided into existence or consciousness or bliss. Very existence is consciousness. Very existence and consciousness is bliss. For the sake of mental and intellectual
doesn't want to know that.
it is the same thing. Say, take an example. You are in deep sleep. So it means the consciousness is not manifesting through the mind. Does not mean the consciousness is not present. It is present. I told you sleep is a short death. You don't have any experiences in deep sleep. The moment you enter into a dream, you have a dreamer experience. It means consciousness is present there. And in a waking state, we have an experience that consciousness is present there. So obviously, we are exploring that very existence, that very consciousness, that very bliss is our nature. Why we are discovering that? Same, go to the sine principle. The sum of angles of a triangle is 180 degree, prove it. So if a student follows the process, understands each and every part, and proves that sum of angles of a triangle is 180 degree, he gets the 100 marks. That is what exactly we are doing. So we started with hypothesis. This real self is existence, it is consciousness, is prove it. How to prove it? By knowledge, by understanding.
Is the sunlight, is what's lighting the sun consciousness, or is that like prana? Is consciousness, does it have to be part of a mind, intellect, senses, or can consciousness express through?
Simple like answer. Is consciousness first or is matter first? Consciousness has to be the first. When I say I know you, that consciousness says the existence of something else outside me. And what is outside me is matter. So sun is also a matter. So first there is a consciousness, and then there is a sun, then there is all the matters. Simple answer. Simple answer. We will also talk in detail about it. That is what these 4 verses talks about it, and it gives you a detail and a subtle understanding. The verse number 29 says that from the microcosmic standpoint, from a microcosmic standpoint, from the very subtlest element, what exactly is the journey. The verse number 30th talks about from the macrocosmic standpoint. What is macrocosmic standpoint? Presence of that consciousness here and now in almost everything. Then what happens? Then Master says that you should have a clear understanding that what is present in the micro is also present in the macro. So once I have a recognition and realization that consciousness, that real self, that existence, consciousness and bliss is present everywhere, I enter into the state of highest meditation. There is a perfect equanimity, and that is what is also known as awakening. We'll have maybe 1 or 2 more sessions on these 4 verses, are very important. So these 4 verses gives you esoteric knowledge. Esoteric knowledge that how I am from the standpoint of the real self is present everywhere. And how that supreme consciousness, which we say is all pervading, is present in me. Both macro point of view, micro point of view. Master points out, without destroying this ignorance of the mind, it is not possible. One, without destroying the obsession-based desire, it is not possible. Whether I've started using desire, pleasure-based desire or obsession-based desire. Why? Because it comes with attachment and detachment, with a false I, with delusion, with foolishness, and that creates a curtain for the ignorance. So in these 4 verses, macro and micro perspective, then the master says 2 things. First thing, that you have to get rid of this mind. So you have to get rid of the mind means no mind state. Can I reach to that no mind state? Yes. But in the no mind state, the past impressions haunts me, so I have to get rid of the past impression. So what happens when you get rid of the past impression? You are already absorbed into meditative state. You're already absorbed into meditative state, yes. But only one thing is left, that there is no objectivity left, because that can create the mind the moment any objectivity is left. So in the last phase, that objectivity is also lost, and there is a pure subjective reality. That is the message in these 4 verses. So in verse number 29, if I say there is a universal vision through meditation. What is that universal vision? The seeker perceives that consciousness in all beings. Just imagine metaphorically that ocean water has many knots. I gave an example of only one knot in a cloth. So that knot is nothing but the waves. But fact is that all the knots, all the waves is nothing but the water. Can't I have the universal vision? Now see, you look at your honey, internal vision is that it is one consciousness. How can your mind enter into anxiety, reaction, duality, or a conflict? You perceive the unity in diversity. So first I have to experience that in meditation, then only I can have that same vision in my daily life. This is what the master is talking about, the vision of unity in all the beings. It is not a...
And it's an understanding, right? It's not a change in our perception.
It is an understanding.
Or the senses work the same no matter what, right?
I used to meditate in a different way. Perhaps it worked for me. So I said, that food is so tasty. I said, my intellect came and discerned that you are talking of the food. It is an entity. It is an entity outside you, yes. But it is the same thing. It has a name and the form. So even the consciousness is present there. The same consciousness is present there also. So I lost the very pleasure-seeking idea in that food. So we have hundreds of These masters have worked so, I won't use the word hard, but so easily. So you see that the moment you see a girl, there is a sensuality. I think, this guy told me, I want to talk to you seriously. This guy called me. I said, I went to a restaurant for a dinner, and I saw beautiful girls, and my mind was totally attracted to those girls. I said, did you had your dinner? Oh, no, I had my dinner, but my mind, I returned home and I still have this. So now it is a foreign concept, but it is so much applicable in today's world. So we have a Durga Saptasati. There is another text. So there the master says the moment you have a sensuality, you superimpose your mother in that girl. And let us see whether you have a sensuality. The sensuality will dissolve. It will dissolve instantly. So these masters have created so many ways, provided we are a seeker. So the recognition of the self in others, one and others in self. A recognition of self in others, you need to contemplate on this. Recognition of the self, recognition of the same water in all the waves, and others in the same self. What does it mean? So here the second metaphor works. Is my house is in the space, or there is a space in the house? Both are true. Both are true.
I even like to look at the stars and imagine that
it is
it's inside of self. It's contained in the self, right? I mean, the idea of it is it allows the mind to imagine
yes
all pervasiveness.
Continue
right?
doing it.
And it's
Continue doing it, but we will go to another step of understanding that what is this inner self. I'm deviating, but I can tell you that Master says it is not the water, but it is in the water. It is not the body, but in the body. It is not the wave, but it is in the wave. It is not the mind, but it is in the mind. So that inner self pervades everywhere in all the objects. So the verse number 29, why we want to have that understanding? To attain higher state of consciousness, to transcend the limited ego-based perception, to realize the fundamental oneness, and to develop a universal consciousness, because they are the four very important recognition and realization in meditation. To attain the higher state of the what is that higher state of the consciousness? Again, you have to question why. Why the higher state of the consciousness? We say lower state and then the higher state, then the subtle state. We use a lot of words. So the lowest state of the consciousness, I only see the knot, I only see the wave, I only see the division, duality and a conflict. That is what the lower consciousness is. Consciousness is the same, but it is superimposed by the delusion. Consciousness is still the same. Water is still the same in different ways. So when we say to attain a higher consciousness, ultimately you are becoming free from the limitedness. You see the limitedness and you drop the limitedness by understanding. then you ask yourself from where this limitedness has come. Oh, it is ego based. You drop the ego. When you drop the ego, then you recognize the fundamental oneness. When you recognize the fundamental oneness, the water anywhere, everywhere, from Arctic to Antarctica to Australia to United States to India, is the same. Though you experience the fundamental oneness. What we say, Colorado River has been polluted. So now it is a lower consciousness. The very essence of the water still is the same. We are talking at a surface level. We are talking at a surface level. So how this comes? By deep meditation, or you can say consistent meditation. I told you mind can remove by consistent meditation. I will talk about with reference to Om Namah Shivaya. By developing equal vision towards all, it means what? By intellectually reminding the mind. By reminding the mind, that is what the verse number 29 says. And then we go into the eternal connection. That is the verse number 30th. What is eternal? Eternal means there is no division of past, present, or the future. The time is one continuity whole. Time cannot be divided. Our mind has divided with reference to the body. Today I was early in the morning, I went for a cataract surgery. So you're feeling good? I said, what the 66-year-old machine should feel. You throw your car after 20 years, you throw your refrigerator, you get a repair and maintenance. So I have come here for repair and maintenance. Do whatever you want to do. No, we have to check your heart rate. So they checked it is below normal. They checked my blood pressure. It was 119 by 74. It is still below normal. Below normal is considered better. So
Calm.
Would you like to have, no, we will give you anesthesia. So I was talking to the doctor and he was replacing the lens. Within 2 minutes he did it. We can't allow. So all pervading the time continuum, when you recognize again and again, you impress through the intellect on the mind that I'm not the body and the mind. So when I'm not the body and mind, it means I'm unborn. So when I'm unborn, where is the fear of death? The same doctor last week I was telling, it is a 66 years old machine, do you expect it? At last point, you will say, I'm sorry. If anything serious happens to this machine, you will say, I am sorry. I know a pet word from the doctor, so just give me a very rational approach. Give me clarity about it. So don't make me emotional, because I will not become emotional. But it doesn't mean that I don't love. I love everything. So this eternal connection we have to find, that is what the Master is talking about. We have to understand eternal connection between what? Means the time immemorial connection between the seeker, it is the refined false I. Because when I am seeking, it is the false I, it is the mind that is seeking. Mind has a desire to find the real self. Now that is a purified false I. Is seeking what? It is seeking the real self. So I
realize the seeker might be hard for someone to drop because it's their entire identification. If you're seeking your whole life, to finally arrive, you'd have to drop the seeking and the seeker, and I could imagine that might be a challenge, right? And like you said, it's subtle and it's considered higher.
Yeah. So
Higher
when
false
I'm a
self, but
seeker,
it's still false.
you see, simple. I am seeking a pleasure outside. So I have already recognized that the pleasure, happiness are outside, and the object where I am seeking is also outside. So I have already created a duality. But the same seeker says, I desire the real self within. I am not creating a duality. That is the reason we say there should not be pleasure based desire. So simple to understand. Pleasure based desire or obsession based desire versus the need based desire. You have an urge to go to the washroom, it does not create any problem. It does not repeat by itself. Oh, you say just no, hold for a minute, and just I'm coming. You're hungry, you eat the food. But if the hunger is a pleasure-based desire, in both the cases you eat the same food. Whether it's a hunger-based desire, need-based desire, or a pleasure-based desire. So what I have to change? I have to make this false I very subtle. False I, don't start seeking something, some pleasure from outside. It is not available there. Who gives that understanding? The intellect. But I have to repeat it again and again and again until the mind says, I got it. I got it. I got it. So every assistant, they started laughing. You rightly said, they had some, maybe they said they have revelation. So they were taking into the operation theater, and I said, it's a 66 years old machine, You can't keep any machine which is 66 years old. No, don't say that. I said, but this is a fact. What should I say? So everything existing within the divine, or within the higher consciousness, or within the existence, I have to prove it first by the intellect. I have to consistently do the practice, absorb into a deeper meditation where the objectivity is lost, and then I get into that state of the consciousness. Why? Because then I have a continuity of that unbroken, choiceless awareness when I wake up in the morning until I retire to the bed. There is an unbroken continuity of the choiceless. What is choiceless? Choiceless means that it does not have any choice. From where the choice comes? From the false I that divides I am here, you are there. But it is a lower consciousness, so we have to evolve into a higher consciousness. This is what the master, this is one way to. So it means that if I am permanently so-called connected to everything behind the world of the name and the form, what will happen to the mind? Mind will blast. Blast means that it will drop all its impurities and the sins and fear of the birth and the death. All are gone. That is what the higher consciousness. That is what the higher consciousness will. So in the verse number 31st, Master says that once you recognize that unity, there is an emotional connection. So you reach to the highest level of EQ. I am using the modern word, highest level of emotional quotient. The Buddha says it is compassion. We say it is compassion, and they say it is, they have recognized somewhat. So what is going to happen in that state? Now you wake up in the morning, you feel a connection there is a continuity of connection to the all-pervading. You live into that all-pervading awareness. When we wake up in the morning, we instantly get connected to that I am the body and the mind. Do whatever you want to do, we feel that way. But now when you wake up in the morning, you feel you are connected to that one abiding consciousness. So what happens? Here the knowledge and the emotion, they merge together. So my master used to say that this path goes on the top through the knowledge, and this path goes through the emotion and the feeling to the top. They both combine. Either you manifest as a right absolute knowledge, or you manifest as an absolute love. So when the Buddha guides his students, absolute knowledge, and when he is not guiding, he perceives the oneness, he is in pure emotion, unconditional love. That is what the compassion is. So Master is saying that through that meditation, you reach to that state. You reach to that state. What is that?
I imagine in like equanimity of the mind
Yeah.
would land you kind of there, right? When
Yes.
you're
Equanimity of the mind with
sweet
reference to the knowledge, so we perceive through the knowledge. Equanimity of the mind with reference to the emotion, it is an unconditional love. And unconditional love, when it is expressed outside, it becomes compassion. But be very clear. I gave you that story again and again. It's a kissa. The women whose son died, and she took her son to the Buddha, and Buddha asked mother that go to every villager, knock the door and find out if no one died in their home. I will make your son alive. So both the elements are there. Out of compassion, Buddha wanted to help the mother to raise her consciousness. But it is not possible. Just if you say, oh, no one is born and no one died, then the mother would have been angry, hesitated. What the heck you are talking? Then you are crazy. You are not a monk if you cannot make my son alive. So you see the compassion. That is the art of the teaching of these great masters. So she went to all the villagers, and no one confirmed that anyone did not die in their home. So while returning, she fell at the feet of the Buddha. You gave me a wisdom. It is not possible. It is the nature's laws. And she became one of the great masters in Buddhist tradition. So there is a different way to get out of this. That is the 31 verse we will talk, and 32nd verse. Now you rightly said there is a perfect equanimity. I'm using the word perfect. That state of equanimity in your consciousness lives all the time. Then there is a universal empathy that lives all the time. You have an equal vision towards all your experiences. I gave you that idea. Your mind says, I like this, but the like remain as a like outside you. You have recognized the real self. The dislike remain as dislike outside you. You are still settled in the real self. And that is the supreme state of yoga, or the supreme state of meditation. So Master says, just by understanding, you can reach to that state of consciousness which we define as a real self, absolute existence, consciousness, and bliss. Why? Because I have to achieve that highest state. I have to reach to the highest level of discernment. I want the highest level of a spiritual attainment. That is what is known as the awakening, to develop complete equanimity, to establish, to settle in myself the state of the self-realization. Don't forget the liberate principle. Every time apply the liberate principle. We discussed about it. Liberate in five steps: satsangatve, nesasangatvam. So consistent listening and learning, message to the mind. Intellect can easily understand. You read any topic and you can understand and you can make. So satsangate, consistent listening and learning, contemplation, reflection, and the practice helps the mind to reveal the knowledge which is already understood by the intellect. So that is what is the meaning of satsang. So by consistent listening and learning, contemplation and reflection, one day you will find, why the hell, I'm unnecessarily attached, and because of this attachment I was angry inside, but I held back. There is no need to hold back the anger. There is no need to be angry. There is no need to be agitated. So that revelation comes by consistent listening, learning, contemplation, and reflection. So that results into detachment. Nesasangatve nirmohatvam. So that is what it comes from. The moment you drop the detachment, still you find a thin cover of the delusion. So you are repeating, the delusion goes away, freedom from the delusion, and once you recognize your mind is settled, when there is no delusion, I need not to do anything to the mind is already calm and relaxed. Mind is already relaxed, calm and focused. With that natural state of the focus of the mind, we can reach to a state of self-realization or awakening. So these 5 steps I converted into the liberate acronym. Liberate, I live. I remember that I am the real self. Your mind will say, why should I remember? Our mind had undergone a subconscious, a habitual, social, parental training to our mind. For what? That I am a man and you are also a man. Your parents did not refer to you that, oh, come on my girl, come on my daughter. So they're consistent. The mind learned by consistent listening and learning, subconsciously. Now it is ingrained in so deeply that I need not to even think of it, that I am a man. Non-verbal understanding. Did you get it? Same thing. Consistent listening and learning, contemplation, reflection, and the practice will transform the mind. Then what? Then you have a non-verbal understanding that I'm the real self. Oh, you get it? I'm the real self. Then why to repeat it? Until then I have to repeat it. Until then I have to remind. Until then I have to recognize. Otherwise it will not work. People misunderstand this journey. So I gave a real life example. My parents always said, my society said, my relations said. Maybe billions of times repeated. And then I need not to say anything. They have done to create one delusion that I am a man, So we have to make our conscious effort by consistent listening and learning. So once I recognize the I means that I have to investigate the false I. The moment I start investigating the false I, I recognize it is because of the attachment. So B means the break free from the attachment. And then E, I eliminate the delusion also the moment I recognize my attachment. R means that now I tell everyone that once you contemplate and reflect with a pinpoint accuracy, you repeat it, and you will find that, how come I'm so relaxed? And then ask yourself from where this relaxation and calm has entered into your life. There is no one outside responsible. It has come from inside me. It is within me. So it means by removing the delusion and the attachment and dropping the false identity, I was already relaxed. That revealed itself. That calmness simply manifested. It was present already there. It was covered by the delusion and detachment. You know what? I'm making a statement, but once you have that revelation, you have that understanding. What is that understanding? It is awareness. Once you have that awareness, you don't want to go with the path of attachment. You escape from it. You know how to escape. That very learning is the path of meditation. And then what happens? You get a glimpse of, this is, first time I get a glimpse of my real self. And then what happens? Then to get rid of this delusion, you transcend the limitation just by understanding. The whole process of understanding, what is that understanding? I get angry over my honey. That anger, expectation, false I, delusion, attachment, transcend the limitation. You are settled. You are settled. You embody the freedom. You embody the freedom that needs to be done all the time.